It was so interesting last night, Beth, on Soul Talk when we were talking about exploring relationships and soul contracts and bringing in spirits like that we did from the other side, kind of sharing like, why are we here? Like, what do we decide? Why do we decide even to come back to Earth when we incarnate? And speaking to also reincarnation, that we've been here over and over again, and what is the reason for that? Really, the reason is really for the soul's evolution. So it was an interesting discussion to kind of go to first to the other side to see what's kind of going on in our mindset, in our consciousness on that side that brings us to this side.
Why are we here? I mean, and I don't know if most people think about that or talk about it. They just go about their lives and deal with whatever it is we're meant to deal with. And many of us are so overwhelmed anyway that we're not necessarily sitting around thinking about why are we here. But it really is an important question. Why are we here? What are we doing here? How did we get here? I mean, there's a lot of questions that I've asked since I was a child. I've been asking that question. What am I doing here? And so I know we were talking about it last night, and you had brought through some information about it is about our soul's evolution, but why? What is the purpose? What is the purpose? Why is our soul evolving? How does it evolve? What kind of information did you receive around that, if you did?
Well, it was so interesting. I think it all has to do with consciousness here, and then consciousness on the other side, because we know, speaking with so many people who've passed, that their personality and their consciousness goes with them. So it's really expanding this consciousness, expanding the experience of being all that we can be, being all, experiencing everything. And I think one of the reasons that we come here, and what they were sharing on the other side, is to experience and know ourselves fully. I thought was so beautiful. The energy last night was so beautiful, and the energy that they are sharing with us from the other side is just beyond beautiful. But it's speaking to two tenement truths. One is that we are eternal souls. Our souls are eternal. We've been here before, we'll come again, but we're eternal. That is such a beautiful gift. That is such a beautiful truth. And the other, that we were created in love and light. Now, we may not always feel like we're love and light. We may not see it always, but that is our truth too, that we are created in love and life and light. And it speaks to, again, being and giving ourselves and honoring ourselves for the love that we are, even if we don't feel it all the time, and we don't necessarily, we're in difficult, challenging situations, that doesn't always reflect that.
Yeah. That feeling loved, feeling that we are loved. We were talking about that today, about how to receive love and how do we receive love and the challenge of that. And so many of us want things in life. We wish for things in life. We pray for things in life. But many of us don't feel basically that we're loved, that we have access to that love, that we're worthy, and that we're worthy of love. So I want to talk a little bit about how to receive love, and how to receive love either from the other side or from another person, or from ourself, from our higher self. Our higher self is always loving us. Our higher self has no judgment. Our higher self, which is the same as our soul, does not care whether we are successful in business, or whether we publish something, or whether we make a certain amount of money, or what's in our bank account. Our higher self just wants us to feel loved and loves us. But how do we feel that when many of us have not felt loved, or had felt conditional love? How do we feel that unconditional love? It's so important. You and I have spoken about how important that is for healing, for physical healing, for emotional healing, for our planet healing. It's like the key ingredient. If we were making if we're having a dinner party and we were cooking, love, that unconditional love is the key ingredient to making it all worthwhile, and making and allowing the healing to happen.
You're reminding me of like the Dunkin' Donuts motto, but our soul runs on love. We run in love. And so how do we tap into that? And that's so true. I think what they were sharing from the other side is to know, even if it's hard to see it, that that is your essence, but it's getting back to the connection. So the reason we don't feel love is we feel disconnected. And when we go back into this connection, we go back into a consciousness of not being separate. We're never separate, but we can feel separate. We all go through different times where we feel really separate. We feel really isolated. We can feel alone.
Yeah.
And so when we go in knowing that, seeking that connection. So in finding little ways that sing to you, each of us, whether it's the love from an animal, our animals are so loving. We've spoken about this. Nature. I just walk out in the Arizona desert and the mountains, I feel like are just singing. I feel very connected to the mountains, and that feeds my soul. Music sings to our soul. It connects us emotionally. So to really feed us in different ways to almost like work the muscle to really learn how to love. And those are like three different mediums in which animals, music, nature, for us to feel the love until we can own that, until we can give ourselves that love.
Yes. So what came to mind when you were talking about the animals and nature and music is that what makes us not feel loved? And I know for myself, it's when I'm not heard, or maybe I'm not understood, or not respected. There could be a number of things that might contribute to not feeling loved, even though that's illusion, because we're always loved. It's just someone else maybe can't hear us or give to us or understand us because of their own conditioning that they've been through. So the feeling of loneliness or the feeling of not feeling loved is something many of us do struggle with. And so I love that you're bringing up other ways to feel loved other than maybe a relationship, with another person, because when you think about the conditioning that we all have as people that we go through, and when you think then about music and about nature and about our animals, they don't have that. I mean, they have their experiences. I know when I communicate with dogs, there's trauma that they allow me to witness and feel for them. So they have their experiences, but they're still unconditionally loving. So I love that there's ways for us to feel that love and to know what that feels like, especially when we haven't felt that from a person.
And I was thinking this morning, I was out walking and so many dog walkers were out. They give their dogs so much love. So
Yeah.
what if you reverse the roles? What if you put yourself where the dog is and you're speaking to yourself as speaking to you, like you're the dog, and you're taking in all the love. And what you're doing is you're loving yourself. All the love that is just pouring out of the person towards their beloved companion animal is see yourself as that and receive it as much as the beautiful dog is receiving it. So it's really to allow that in, but I think it really speaks to knowing that you're worthy. Why are you, that gets to something where you block it when you say, well, I've done this or done that, or I don't feel, I know for me, I've had shame in my life. So, why should I be deserving of this? Right. And so you block it. When they're saying on the other side, yes, there's things that we're not always proud of, but that is not a reason not to love yourself. You actually give yourself more love. You
Yeah.
give yourself
Need more love.
compassion.
Yes.
You need more love, and you give yourself compassion. We're human. I'm hearing that song, you're only human after all, right?
Yeah.
Don't put the blame on me,
Yeah. Well,
but
the people that are most in need of love are the ones that are acting out or hurting other people. So that's actually true. So for ourselves, if we have stuff in our past that we don't feel proud of, we need more love, right? We need more compassion. And it's so interesting that you brought that up about the dog, because I had that exact experience where I was talking so sweetly and lovingly to my dog, and my dog is here right now. She wants to come up. This is Clementine.
Hi, Clem.
So how could you not love Clementine? So, um, so we, so the way we speak to our dog. So I was speaking to my dog so lovingly, and I heard from my soul team, I heard that's the way you need to speak to yourself.
Mhm.
Because I've changed a lot, but I used to be extremely critical and judgmental of myself. And I heard that's the way you need to start speaking to yourself self with that kind of unconditional love. That is that is what we all deserve. But how
Mhm.
do we receive? So
Mhm. But there's
how do we
what they're
receive?
saying from the other side, Beth, about that is to be learn. So when you receive that, feel it, feel how good it made you feel all of it through all of it. It's almost like a learned behavior. It's almost like when you're training to, you're training muscles because you're a marathon runner and so forth. You're training yourself to receive it. But it goes one step further from what they're saying on the other side is, so now you know what that feels like. So when other things come and to your door that are not loving, or people that are not loving, you say no. You put up boundaries. It's not
Mhm.
that you step away. It's not that you can't love them, but maybe love them from afar, or send them love. But you don't need to do all these somersault, gyrations in order to compensate for the unloved that they are. Nor do you need to take that on. They're hurting, so they're lashing out, but none of us need to take it in. But when we stand in our own love, we can actually give love, and the universe actually is helping to lift and to change the energy. It's all energy.
Yeah.
So it's knowing when to put up the boundaries and say, no, that isn't loving, and not taking that negative in, and thinking to yourself, like, what if you only took in the positive? It's not that you're Pollyanna. It's not that you're negating that there isn't hurtful, challenging times, but what if you set your boundaries and you just took in the positive?
So we're reinforcing the not feeling loved by allowing by what like associating with people who are not loving, or is that what you mean?
Well, I think you can be aware of it. We're each, every moment we're making choices of how we're going to respond. And it's actually more loving to respond by putting up boundaries.
Yeah.
And it's loving because you're
Yes.
you're maintaining your own stance, your own power of love, but you're also shifting the energy, because it's more than just that person and the two people. It's there's so much more going on. But when you put up that boundary and you're sending love, it's actually helping to change the situation. So you're not getting stuck in another person's unlove.
Mhm.
You're actually lifting both of you up with love, with the help of so much from the unseen realm, the angels, and the you know this whole creation that is around us, that is loving us.
Yeah.
When we think about it, our bodies are always loving us. They're always trying to help us come in balance. Nature's always loving. It's loving.
Yeah.
Our animals loving. There's so many different sources that are trying to mirror what love does look like, so that and it's helping us to remember, yes, this is what is our essence. This is how we were created.
So my guess is the more that we stand up for ourself and love ourself, even before we fully feel it, the more we will start to feel it. It's like we have to start somewhere. So
And
if we continue allowing ourselves, let's just say, to be in a relationship that's not, loving, or to not care for ourselves. So we treat ourselves in not a loving way, we're just going to feel more of that. But if we start to take care of ourselves and stand up for ourselves and say no to that's not loving, but yes to what is loving, then we're going to start to feel more of that too. I mean, that's in a way, that's how it
we're
works.
like, we're energy. We're beautiful energy, but
Yeah.
we're also magnets. So what we put out will come to us.
Yeah.
So when we are going in, like you're saying, to loving ourselves, self-care, nourishment, in different ways, taking care of ourselves and surrounding ourselves and giving ourselves love, giving ourselves rest, giving ourselves, joy, and just being in that moment and so forth, more is going to come to you.
Mm.
because you've changed the energy. You reminded me too, I know we spoke about this the other day, on that we need to be, it was so interesting. The other side was talking to us about being self-centered. Well, that's an interesting one, because we always tell people, don't be so self-centered. But what they're really saying is that we need to care for ourselves. We need to give ourselves love. We need to be love. We need to respond in love. And every choice, what would love do? What would love do in that moment?
Mhm.
And when we do that, we are actually are able to give even more love to those around us. In that way, we are actually coming back to being connected, feeling that connection, feeling that belonging, but feeling that connection with one another, because that's what we can't live without connection. We can't live. We're just not made for that. That's
Right.
the essence of who we are, because we are all connected.
Right. Right. So the self-centered piece is interesting. We call people who are selfish self-centered, and that's a negative term, as someone who really doesn't really is not able to have empathy and see people outside of themselves. But really, I know you would receive this when you were connecting with the other side, that being self-centered is about taking care of ourselves. Let me put Clementine down. So that being self-centered is about taking care of ourselves first, loving ourselves, self-care, and all of that. And that's not selfish, but that's self-centered, which is different, is what you were receiving. And I think most people would kind of flinch at the idea of calling ourselves self-centered because of how the term is used nowadays.
Truly, yeah. And it really does say, how can we, they're saying to us, like, so if you are not in giving yourself all the love, number one, how can you give love to another? You can't give away what you don't have. So they're always saying every morning, fill yourself to the brim with love, and give it away as the day goes. And it's almost like a gas tank. You come on to empty at the end of the day. The universe is abundant and it will fill you right back up. So do that. But also to, when you really love yourself, how can you not love everyone around you? How can you not see the bigger picture? How can you not see different ways to respond? It's not that you're not going to have challenges and challenging people and even challenges within ourselves. It's not that you're not going to have that, but you're going to go at it with a different approach. You're going to go at it from being empowered with love. And that is like the strongest, most powerful force in the universe. It's what is the universe is created is love. And it opens, this is where the opportunities, this is where possibilities open. Because when we shift the energy, new ideas, new thoughts, and that consciousness expands, that's where you see these clues that come across your path that you're like, that you follow, that actually opens up to even more things that are full of joy, that are full of abundance, that are full of more love. And it just, love begets more love.
So it's really about doing things differently. I'm just laughing. Clementine's throwing her bone across the room. She really wants their attention and love. We're doing this video. But it's about doing things differently. We get in our habits. And I know I work with a lot of people in my healing sessions where I'm helping them get unstuck and helping them move and uncover where their blocks have been. So it's really about doing things differently. And we're talking about how to feel more love, but we can apply it to most anything. If we're doing the same thing because of the conditioning, or because this is what we learned, or because this is how we felt, we have to start changing that somehow. And so we change that with starting to make different choices, to do things differently, to say, to take a step back. I was receiving from my soul team a huge amount about being too close to situations, about being too close is to, if we have a challenge going on, or if we have an emotion like fear or doubt or a difficult emotion, that we're in how to move through that is to take a step back, is to be able to see the bigger picture. And we can do that with our situations. And so we do things differently. That if we're in this just say I get to talk about relationships we were talking about before. If we're in a relationship with someone who we would like them to interact differently with us, and we would like to interact differently with them, that we have to take a step back and observe what's going on so we can make a change. And then once you make a change, then the changes happen for everybody around you. And then we could start to make those choices, whether it's to have more love, to receive love, to feel happier, more joyous, more peaceful, whatever it is. We have to make that conscious choice.
And what you're so beautifully speaking to is patterns, and that's what they're sharing on the other side. So we come back to experience something, and so many times, all of the readings that we're doing with others, Beth, as you know, that we're tapping into people's past lives, we can start to see patterns that played out in past lives that is actually playing out again in this life. I mean, I know all the intuitive healing readings that you're doing to tap into it. And what is it really speaking to? It's what is keeping you stuck? What is keeping you stuck from coming into releasing things? And I know all the work you're doing for so many and is helping in a beautiful way to release things that are unsticking people so that they can uncover and remove those blocks. And it's opening them, and just it's profound, all of the healing, emotionally and the healing that's happening. And once they say on the other side that once you've healed something, some trauma in your life or some experience or some repetitive behavior that is not what you would that you really want, once you've healed it, you've healed it. You've healed it past and you've healed it into the future. And it's just profound how that has a kind of a domino effect, but it does. So I know so much of the work is really, okay, it sounds great. You want to get to joy and abundance, but how do you do this? You really have to start looking at your own patterns and looking at some of your own experiences, and then start clearing out that filter to allow that flow that is always trying to flow through us from the universe.
Right.
So
allow those emotions to be released. It's the conscious thought, and it's also the emotions to be released. So it's both, right? And that's how the healing happens.
And we always say, when you start to feel, when you really get in touch with your emotion, when you're feeling, you're healing. You're already on the journey, but it's really opening up so it doesn't come back again. And I know you and I both have had things like, we don't need to do this in another life.
We want to get over it. We don't want to do it again. I don't want to do that again. Yeah.
And who doesn't want to tap into possibilities? Who doesn't want to tap into being able to really, we're co-creating, they said, at every moment. At every moment, we're just not conscious of it. And we don't necessarily see it immediately because we're in a dense realm. I thought it was interesting last night, what they were sharing on the other side is that when we're here, we're on the outside, we're living in a physical realm, and we're trying to get in touch with what's inside, how to get to our intuition, how to get to that inner compass that we all came with, that inner compass, but how do we access it so that we can live from it? On the other side, they're on the inside, looking out, which is this big picture, looking at, really, they have an expanded vantage point. They don't know everything, as we know, talking to the other side, but they certainly have an expanded vantage point from which to see the bigger picture. What is the bigger picture? And the common denominator between the inside out or the outside in, what is it? Love. You give yourself love today. You give yourself 3 things that you do for yourself. I say yourself, I am love. You do 3 things every day that shower love on you, and your life is going to change.
It's really true. I'm sitting here thinking, we've done a number of these videos. We've done a number of Facebook Live, and we wind up really honing in on the same topic because, one, we need to hear it again and again, because living in our world, we get pulled away so easily. We hear something and we're like, yes, that's true, I'm going to do this. And then life happens and we get pulled away and we forget. We need the repetition to remind us to show up and do this work. We have to do this work. I know I was feeling that so strongly last night. We have to do it. It's just, we owe it to ourselves. We're here to do that. we're here to have fun, and it's not all work, but we want to show up, and we want to ask ourselves some of those hard questions. And how can I heal this? How can I act differently? How can I feel that love? How can I do what you just said and show up and do those things for myself so I can feel love, and make sure I do that every day?
Mhm.
So I feel that I just want to keep reminding and coming back and talking about the importance of love, the importance of feeling our emotions, and the importance of having conscious awareness of
Mhm.
ourself, our thoughts, our life, of everything. That's how it feels like that's how we utilize our tools consciously and effectively, our tools of the mind and the body and the spirit. That's how we utilize it effectively, is we make conscious choices. We make conscious choices to change our thinking, to do things differently, to feel our emotions, or uh, um, to receive love, to act in love, to do things that show that we are love, or that we are loved. And
Mhm.
that's how we heal, and that's how we change. And that leads us to our question that we started out with, is why are we here?
We're here to experience love, to be love,
Mm,
to be our
love.
grandest, most amazing, our most magnificent, most glorious love that we can be. And we're each doing different ways. We each have our own story, but we're honoring each other. And when we start with ourselves, which it really starts with ourselves, it starts with honoring ourselves and loving ourselves.
And we are love. We are love. Like, our higher self, our soul is love.
Mhm.
So it's almost as if we really need to just connect with that higher part of ourself in order to feel that love,
Mhm.
and to clear away everything that's in the way of that. So that's what we're here to do, to help you do that. So thank you for tuning in today, and remember to feel that love in any way you can, and to join us again next time.